Have you ever had a moment like this? You bought something on impulse only to regret it afterward. Or you knew a relationship, a project, or a decision wasn't right for you, but you still couldn't bring yourself to let it go. We like to believe that our decisions come from careful analysis and weighing the pros and cons. But very often, we feel first, and then we look for reasons to justify that feeling. We think we are seeing reality, but what we often see is a version of reality that has already been filtered through our emotions, experiences, biases, and environment. Hello, everyone. I'm Manya. Welcome to Life Wisdom. Today, I want to share with you a book by Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. Kahneman was a psychologist and a Nobel laureate in economic sciences. He was not an economist in the traditional sense, but his research on human judgment and decision making profoundly influenced economics, psychology, management, investing, and even public policy. Kahneman gives us one powerful reminder. Human beings are not nearly as rational as we like to think. In today's episode, we'll use thinking fast and slow to explore how we can recognize our mental traps in everyday life, reduce poor decisions, and make clearer choices in work, relationships, spending, and investing. Kahneman divides human thinking into two systems. System 1 is what we can call fast thinking, and System 2 is slow thinking. System 1 is fast, automatic, and intuitive. It requires little effort and responds quickly. For example, when you see someone frowning, you immediately sense that they might be unhappy. When you hear a familiar melody, a memory may instantly come back to you. When you see 2 plus 2, you don't need to think. You know the answer is 4. That is System 1. System 2, on the other hand, is responsible for complex calculations, logical reasoning, and self control. It is slower, more deliberate, and requires attention. For example, when you carefully compare two job opportunities, or when you decide whether to enter a long term relationship, you are using System 2. System 1 helps us respond efficiently. System 2 helps us make more thoughtful judgments. But here is the problem. System 1 is always ready to jump in, while System 2 is more effortful and often reluctant to engage. Our brain naturally wants to conserve energy. If a problem can be handled by intuition, the brain would rather not activate deeper, more demanding thinking. And this thinking pattern can be especially dangerous in modern life because today's information environment is largely designed around System 1. Short videos try to capture your attention in the very first second. Advertisements try to trigger your immediate desires. Social media is designed to stir up anger, envy, anxiety, and fear. The modern information environment is extremely good at exploiting our intuition, emotions, and impulses. So, the first reminder from Thinking Fast and Slow is this: not every first reaction deserves to be trusted. The more important a decision is, the more we need to slow down. Kahneman introduces an important concept called the availability heuristic. In simple terms, the easier something is to recall, the more likely we are to judge it as common or probable. For example, if you just saw a news story about a plane crash, you might feel especially nervous the next time you take a flight. But Statistically speaking, flying is usually one of the safest forms of transportation, and serious aviation accidents are far less common than many risks we encounter in more familiar forms of transportation, such as cars or motorcycles. Our brains are not naturally good at statistics. Our brains are good at storytelling. A specific person, an intense personal experience, or a shocking news story can often feel more powerful than calm, objective data. For example, you see a few influencers talking about their high salaries, and suddenly you feel like you're falling behind. You see several negative news stories, and you feel like the world is getting worse. You see other people posting happy moments, and you feel like your own life is a mess. But stories are not the whole truth. Very often, what you think is the world is actually only the part of the world that the algorithm has chosen to show you. So we need to train ourselves to ask not only what am I seeing, but also what am I not seeing. When a piece of information makes you feel especially excited, discouraged, or afraid, pause and ask, is there another side that I'm not seeing? Does this represent the whole picture, or is it just one amplified voice? At this point, another question naturally comes up. If System 1 can be influenced so easily, can we trust our intuition at all? Kahneman reminds us that intuition can be very useful in certain environments, but it is not always reliable. For example, an experienced doctor may quickly sense that something is wrong with a patient. A seasoned editor may immediately notice the weakness in a piece of writing. These forms of intuition are not mysterious powers. They are pattern recognition built through long term training. But for intuition to be reliable, several conditions are usually needed. The environment itself must have some degree of regularity. You need long term practice in that environment. You need timely and clear feedback. And you must be willing to adjust based on that feedback. Without these conditions, intuition can easily become an illusion. For example, financial markets, macro trends, relationships, and career prospects are often highly complex, and feedback is often delayed or unclear. You may make a decision today and only find out 3 years later whether it was right. And even then, the outcome may be influenced by timing, luck, social trends, and many other factors. So we can understand it this way. In familiar, stable environments with clear feedback, intuition is worth considering. But in complex, uncertain environments with vague feedback, intuition must be tested. For example, when you interview someone, your first impression matters, but you shouldn't rely only on the feeling that this person seems trustworthy. You also need to look at their resume, past work, references, actual abilities, and whether they fit the team. Similarly, when choosing a partner, feelings are important, but you also need to observe their values, emotional stability, sense of responsibility, communication style, and how they behave during conflict. The more important the decision, the more we need to put a rational filter in front of our intuition. At this point, I'd like to ask you for a small favor. If you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribing to this channel. Your subscription helps our channel grow, and it also supports us in creating better, higher quality episodes so that more people who are interested in psychology and personal growth can find us. Thank you for your support. Now, let's continue. Kahneman also talks about a phenomenon called the anchoring effect. An anchor refers to the first piece of information we receive. The anchoring effect means that the first information we encounter, especially a number, can influence our later judgments. For example, a piece of clothing was originally priced at $200, but now it's on sale for $79. You may immediately think, what a great deal! But the real question is it truly worth $79? Or did the original $200 price tag influence your judgment first? The most interesting and also the most dangerous part of the anchoring effect is this. Even when you know that a number may be meaningless, it can still influence you. This shows that we are not as independent in our judgments as we think we are. Many times, the direction of our judgment has already been shaped by the environment from the very beginning. In modern society, anchors are everywhere. Original prices on products, the number of likes on social media, or comments like, at your age, you should be married, it's too late to change careers now, or this is what success is supposed to look like. So we need to actively build a habit of resisting anchors. Don't let numbers and information casually handed to you by others determine your sense of direction or value. Next, Kahneman introduces one of the most important insights in the book, loss aversion. People usually feel the pain of loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. This explains many of the struggles we face in life. Why do people stay in relationships that have already exhausted them? Because they think, I've invested so many years, it would be such a waste to give up now. Why do people stay in jobs they don't like, even when they know they want something different? Because losing stability, familiarity, and an existing identity can create a deep sense of anxiety. Behind this is another concept, sunk cost. Sunk costs are costs that have already been incurred and cannot be recovered. The time, money, emotions, and effort we have already invested often trap us into continuing to invest even more. But the rational thing to do is to remind ourselves past investments cannot be changed. What truly matters is the choice we make now and the future it leads to. You can ask yourself, if I were starting over today, would I still choose this job? If I had just met this person today, would I still enter this relationship? Admitting that you may have taken the wrong path and choosing to stop investing further is not failure, it is maturity. Related to loss aversion, the book also discusses a fascinating phenomenon called the endowment effect. It means that once we own something, we tend to believe it is more valuable than we would have thought before owning it. For example, after buying a house, when you later try to sell it, you may feel that it should be worth more than the market thinks. This phenomenon does not only happen with physical possessions, it also happens with opinions. Once an opinion becomes my opinion, it becomes much harder to let go. When someone challenges it, we often don't feel that our idea is being challenged. We feel that our identity is being attacked. That is why many arguments are not really about finding the truth. They are about defending identity. A more mature way of thinking is this. This is my current judgment based on the information I have. If there is better reasoning or stronger evidence, I'm willing to update my view. That is not weakness, that is rationality. The book also talks about another very common human tendency: overconfidence about the future. For example, when a company has an exciting vision, a charismatic founder, and a set of impressive numbers, it is easy for us to believe that it will definitely succeed. But the future is not a story. The future is the result of countless variables. Kahneman reminds us that there is a great deal of randomness in the world, and we often underestimate it. That is why we need to face uncertainty with more humility. Instead of saying, "This will definitely succeed," it is more reasonable to say, "Under the current conditions, the probability of success may be higher, but these risks still exist." When making important plans, you can ask yourself, what is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? If I am wrong, can I afford the loss? In an uncertain world, we cannot always make the right judgment, but we can make sure that when we are wrong, we don't lose too much. At this point, let's summarize the core ideas of thinking fast and slow into a few practical methods you can use right away. 1. For important decisions, slow down first. Slowing down gives System 2 a chance to come online. 2. Write your thoughts down. Many judgments seem clear in your mind, but once written down, their weaknesses become visible. 3. Actively seek opposing views. High quality judgment can withstand challenge. 4. Replace absolute judgments with probabilistic thinking. 5. Respect the long term and don't let short term events control you. Don't define yourself by one failure and don't become overly optimistic because of one success. Life is not a single exam, it is a long arc. Thinking fast and slow encourages us to develop cognitive humility. We can be misled by intuition. We can be driven by emotion. We can be deceived by stories. We can overestimate ourselves and underestimate randomness. We can mistake familiarity for truth. We can treat memory as if it were the complete reality. But this is not pessimism. Only when you understand your own limitations can you hold on more consciously to reason and clarity. We can still believe in our dreams, but we need to assess the risks. We can still believe in love, but we need to observe how the relationship works in real life. We can still trust our intuition, but we need to allow facts to test it. We can still pursue success, but we need to remember that luck and timing also play a role. The next time you are about to make an important decision, whether it is about spending money, investing, changing jobs, entering a relationship, or ending one, ask yourself three questions first. 1. Am I using fast thinking or slow thinking right now? 2. Am I seeing the facts or am I believing an easy story? 3. If I am wrong, what is the cost? And can I afford that cost? We live in an age that constantly pushes us to react immediately. But the more the world urges us to move fast, the more we need to remember this. Slowing down is not weakness. Slowing down is a skill. Thank you for listening. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share in the comments. What was the last decision where you realized you were influenced by fast thinking? May we all have the courage to act quickly and the wisdom to slow down and think clearly. I'm Manya. See you next time.